And I have our grade 11 and 12 guidance counselors with us who I'll let introduce themselves.
So I'm Cassandra Fleury. I am an 11th and 12th grade counselor for letters, last names A to K.
And I'm Christian Johannesson, as otherwise known as Miss J, and I have last names L through Z for the student's last name.
And this evening, we're just going to go through a quick presentation. Well, it may be a little longer than quick. A presentation on the introduction to the college application process. And I know all of you are coming from different backgrounds, and our students who are watching and parents of those students all have different intentions, where they want to go, what kind of schools they want to go to. Some of you have already started this process, and some of you, this is the first time thinking about college, which is great. We are here to guide you and walk you through the process. It sounds like a lot of stuff, but once you really get started and once you're well prepared, this process ends up looking a lot more manageable. So that's the key, is just being prepared. So we will have a lot of question and answer at the end, but keep in mind that if you have individualized questions, please make sure to make an appointment with Ms. Johannesson or Ms. Fleury at the beginning of the school year next year. That's the best way to do it. But I will definitely take any kind of general questions that you might have at the end of this presentation. So I'm going to get started. I have a couple more people in the waiting room. And again, just for those people just joining, if you could keep your video off and your audio off, that would be great until the question portion. So, important information for students. This is a key element for students when we start the school year, to keep in mind that we make a lot of important announcements at school in the morning announcements. We make important announcements on It's Learning, about all of these things: scholarships, tool awards, upcoming events, job opportunities, college visits, and military visits. So it's really important that you pay close attention. Ms. Fleury and Mr. Johannesson this year did a great job with the It's Learning messages to your class, and they'll do the same next year as well. But we also have things that come up in whether the timeline is really short, and we will make that over the PA system in the morning and afternoon. And we definitely take into account that a lot of our seniors are out on co-op, so we try to keep the most important messages for academic weeks. So a few important dates just to start keeping in mind now. Now that restrictions, health restrictions because of COVID, have kind of loosened up, we have started to see colleges think about requiring SATs again. A lot of them will keep their idea, their practice for the last couple of years about not requiring them or making them optional. So keep in mind, there will be a mad dash, a rush to fill out registration for SAT test taking sites, which there's not many of. There's not a ton of space, so keep that in mind. Register early. They haven't opened up the test sites yet, but what happens is when you log into College Board, most of your children will have accounts. If not, if they haven't taken the PSATs yet, then what they would have to do is create an account. You don't want too many accounts. You don't want multiple accounts because they keep track of everything on one account. So for SATs, you'll make a College Board account and you will register to take one of these tests. When you sign up, it'll ask for your address, and it will base your test site options off of your address. So we don't offer it at Tri-County because it's offered in all of your local towns. So please check College Board frequently. They usually have registration about a month prior to the exam. That's the deadline is usually a month prior to the exam. So you'll want to check back frequently. We will have our college fair. We missed out on having one this past year. We have an awesome college fair where we do invite military because ROTC is an awesome opportunity to have college paid for. But we also have 50 colleges and universities come every year. And the admissions reps are there and they want to talk to everybody. So it's an awesome opportunity to find out about schools that maybe you haven't added to your list. Most likely we'll have a financial aid night, but MIFA over the last year has done a lot of recordings and made their presentations virtual. And those presentations are wonderful and at your fingertips. So we'll be sending those out in messages home. Senior meeting. So it's really important that if you have any questions, any hesitations, any, want to get on the same page as your child or your parents, make an appointment with your school counselor, Ms. Fleury and Ms. Johannesson, at the beginning of the school year. That's really important. And they're more than happy to do digital over Zoom, Google Meet, or in person. One of the newest tools that Tri-County uses, and some of you might be familiar with already, is the Naviance program. We did purchase this software and it's fantastic. It incorporates everything from students who want to go into work, students who just want to find out about careers, students who want to go to college. And it keeps track of all your activities. When students log in, they have their own username and passwords. And if they forgot it, they can message Ms. Johannesson or Ms. Fleury. But at the beginning of the school year, we will get them all logged back in to Naviance if they haven't been in a while. And they'll be able to build their resume. They'll be able to look up scholarships. We post college visits that way. So there's a lot of wonderful information. So it's a great tool to use at home. There's also college search engines, which is a way for students to keep track of their college lists. Guidance counselors can log in and add colleges to their lists and make recommendations. Parents, you can use this tool as well with your children. This is a great opportunity. So colleges have a few different application options. Oftentimes colleges will push students and parents to get their children to apply to college early. Sometimes that can be a bad choice. Sometimes it can be a good choice. It all depends, as I said, on your readiness and preparedness. Many of us have heard of the two earlies, which are early decision and early action. Keep in mind, early decision, we don't always recommend it. A very small percentage of our students will apply early decision. This is for students who have dreamed about a top tier college or university for a really long time. They've done their research, they're prepared. They tend to be in that average range of students who are accepted to that school. But it is a binding decision, meaning you're signing an agreement that states that if you get in, you're going to that college or university. And so you just have to be really, really prepared for that. Early action is recommended for those students who have toured all these colleges, have made their list, have narrowed it down, have met with their guidance counselor right in September, and they're prepared and ready to apply. Early action is not binding, but it is just a way for students to get in to apply early and get a decision early than the traditional route. Since I was in high school, which was a long time ago, college deadlines have been moved up and up and up, and colleges have been pushing students to apply earlier and earlier. I would recommend just making sure you're prepared and ready when it comes time to apply. So starting to prepare now is again, my key advice. And then there's regular decision. So every college has somewhat of a different process. Many of them will use Common App, which we'll talk about in a minute. But really, you need to get familiar with each of the college's admissions websites and find out what their deadlines are. So this is what we're going to go over tonight. We are going to talk about how you build a college list, what a resume would be used for, college visits and tours, how to ask for letters of recommendations and what the importance of those are, SATs and ACTs, those are the exams, common application, talking about requesting transcripts, and when and how to apply for financial aid and scholarships. So starting with college list, this is the most important step. This is the step I recommend you start right now. It's building your list. Now, some students, some parents are on here interested in the community colleges, which we have awesome community colleges. We have great partnerships. We have what's called articulation agreements, which are ways for students in certain programs to attend a school, a community college in our area that has the same program, and they can articulate credit, meaning they already earned the credit before they even started. There is a process for that. So you work that through your guidance counselor. And another group of you are here because you're interested in maybe some of the technical schools that are out there, which there are some. And we would definitely want you to come in to meet to talk about those, because there are some nonprofit and there are some for-profit, and there are some we would recommend and there are some we wouldn't recommend. So we highly recommend you make an appointment with your counselor to talk about those. Then there are those of you who are here possibly thinking about four-year colleges and universities, or definitely four-year colleges and universities. And we recommend, again, that you start building these lists now. Every student, I would recommend start with a larger amount of schools and narrow it down as you go. I typically give students a sheet and ask them to write down at least 4 of each of these categories. A reach school, meaning, and these definitions come from looking at your child's SAT scores, which they may not have right now. So that might be kind of something we leave on the back burner for now until we get those scores. But GPA and class rank are important, which we will have new ones for you when you start the school year. So you can ask your guidance counselor for those. And just look at the school in general, their acceptance rate. And that way you can start to build the list of schools that are considered a reach school, which are considered a target school, which you're the average type of student that attends that university or college. And then likely schools, meaning your GPA, your class rank, your SAT scores, and your transcript tend to look a little bit better than most of the students at the school. So we used to call it safety, but really anymore, there's no such thing as a safety school. It's really been competitive lately. So we have to look at that very closely. Once you've created these lists, feel free to talk to your guidance counselor again, reach out to them, show them your lists. And you create these lists on Naviance, but right now I have the College Board's option here. And what happens is if you go to either College Board and you use your login or Naviance, you can save your lists. What it does is it narrows it down. So to begin with, what you want to talk about is, and think about, is where you want to go to school. And that's a big choice. That's the first choice. And students who are on here without their parents individually, just make sure you talk to your parents about this, because it could play a big role in how far you go to college. You may have family in a certain state or city that you want to attend, and you'll be able to stay with them during breaks. You may have to be in driving distance of your house if you have to come home during your breaks. And if you own a private jet, then you can go wherever you want and just get that to fly you home. But most of us don't have that. So I would recommend, as I said, having that as a family conversation, making that decision on your own. As far as community colleges go, we do have a lot of great schools in the area. Depending on what town you're from, there may be one community college that's closer than another, or out of the 3 that we typically work with, some of them might have specific programs that are geared to you. So again, there are lots of options. After you decide on location, you're going to want to look at size. So what I say is, even right now, if you want to get started and you don't want to take a long trip anywhere, you would just want to kind of see what a campus looks like. We have some great medium-sized schools in our area. We also have some smaller schools in the area. But if you want to see a typical medium-sized school, you should probably just drive not too far to Bridgewater State University. That's a great option. Stonehill is on the verge of becoming a medium-sized school, I would say. And these are all schools that are pretty close to us. So I would say check those out. And then if you want to see a large campus, UMass Dartmouth is a larger campus. If you want to drive all the way out west, you can go to UMass Amherst and see a very large college, university, or UNH up north. And these are just ways to start your decision making. So a resume, why is it important for college applications? Well, basically your college application is a resume. So if we have all that information in one area, it'll be easy to either copy and paste it into the Common App or just refer to it when you're filling out your applications. And Naviance is the perfect tool to create a resume. And as many of you on here already know, resume is very important and important to keep up to date. So that will be a great tool to use on Naviance. You want to keep track of all your accomplishments, certifications, honors, awards, also your licensure. That's very important. Anything you earn in SHOP. And this will boost your college application. One of the things that students forget about, and especially the last year or so, it's been really tough, but community service is something to start thinking about if you haven't already, or if you had to pause, start community service back up again. Colleges are really looking for students who stand out through community service and involvement. Also clubs and activities and sports. Those are all very important for colleges right now to make yourself look and stand out above the rest, okay? College visits and tours. Students are allowed to visit college campuses during the school year and have 2 excused absences. I don't recommend missing school to go visit a college because you have so many other opportunities. During school vacation weeks, generally colleges are not on vacation those weeks, except for maybe Thanksgiving and the winter holiday. But all the other vacations are great opportunities to go and see the campus while students are there. This summer, you can go check out campuses, but we also recommend you take another look once the students are on campus to get a feel for it. So this summer, again, they will have campus tours. You want to go to the college's websites and register for a tour. And you want to make sure they have your name on record because sometimes they do keep track of that. So make sure you register. Talk to the people when you're on campus, talk to the tour guide, tell them what majors you're interested in. They may be able to introduce you to faculty or the people in the admissions office. Once they get to know your name, they'll remember it, and especially when it comes time to looking at applications. Sorry, to go back. There is a form students need to fill out 2 weeks before going on a college visit. So once school starts in the fall, if you want to go on a college visit, you just have to get that form from one of your guidance counselors and have it filled out and signed by a parent and bring it into guidance. And we will let you know if it's approved. And then you go to the campus tour and you get evidence that you were there, either a signature or a note from them. Letters of recommendations over the year have kind of come down to more of a specific letter that they're looking for and not what it used to be where it was like 3 or 4 letters. They really want one really well-written letter from somebody who knows you well. And most of the time they're looking for a classroom teacher. So your school counselor individually can work with you to decide which person would be the best person to ask for a letter. I always recommend that students choose a teacher that they've either had in their junior year, or a teacher they've had multiple times, or a teacher that they've had who's also a coach or an advisor for a club, somebody who knows them really well. Starting out senior year and asking a teacher who you just had for a couple of weeks for a letter won't work in your favor, and some of the teachers probably won't feel like comfortable doing that. So be very cautious with that. And as I said, it's all individualized, so meet with your counselor and talk it out. There are forms online which we'll make available. We have them available on our website, and we'll show you a slide to that link once we get to the end here. Remember, teachers don't have to write letters of recommendations. This is not a requirement of theirs. They do it on their own time. So make sure you approach them, you ask them nicely, you write them a nice email or letter. If you can't see them in person, it's best to do it in person. But what they do require of you is this form to be filled out, where many times I recommend students just attach a resume. That's the best way to do it. Fill out this form, let them know which schools you're applying to, and attach a resume. SATs and ACTs. So these are the college exams, basically, that some schools will require, some schools will not. You will have to look at the college's individual admissions websites or on Common App to find out if it's required or not. As I said, it's really important that you register early and keep in mind that the score reports don't come out for a month after you take the exam. And so we're on kind of a time crunch here. So as I said, probably next year, I'm assuming, and we'll find out more information and let you know more, that most colleges will waive the SATs for next year as well. Maybe not some of the top tier colleges, but definitely a lot of them will still waive it or make it optional. SATs are just more familiar in New England areas. ACTs are more familiar outside of New England or the Northeast. There's, some people say the ACTs are easier. That's not really true. Everything is kind of basic algorithm where they create a middle line of where students are and an average. And then you take the test and you find out if you're above average or below average. And that's kind of how it works. And when you register, you can actually sign up to see if you can register early for specific schools that you want to apply to, and they'll send those scores for free as part of the registration. Afterwards, you just pay a little bit of a fee for each school you want to send your scores to. And you have to do that through the website, through act.org or collegeboard.org. Colleges only want official scores. So even though Tri-County receives your scores, they will only accept the official score through the website, through the company you take it. Common App. The Common App is a internationally used website that students go onto, and if you're interested in a four-year university or college, you'll fill out one application and you'll add your schools that you want to apply to, and they may have extra pieces per school, but they try to keep it all in one area. We recommend you wait until August 1st to start filling that out. And once we get you onto Common App, there'll be lots of questions. It is a somewhat complicated website. There are lots of little features you have to click on and submit for your application to go through completely. So read all the directions. And the school counselors at Tri-County provide Common App seminars, which I highly recommend, where they'll give you some help after school filling out these applications. One piece that is certainly required when you apply to college is the colleges will ask for your transcript, your high school transcript. Keep in mind there's an unofficial transcript and an official transcript. If you ask for a transcript, if it goes to you, it's unofficial. The colleges won't accept it. If you fill out the request form in guidance and on our website, we will mail your transcript to each college that you request and you're applying to. That transcript shows your final averages, your final grades in all the classes you've taken in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. Once you finish trimester 1, your transcript will include your report card. Before you complete trimester 1, we will send them your schedule. We won't send incomplete grades. So keep that in mind. So that's why a lot of people say the emphasis is on grade 11 grades, because that's really the last year of full grades that colleges see. They will, however, ask you for what's called a midterm report. So they may ask for trimester 1 final grades, and some of them will ask for trimester 2 final grades. So you have to make sure you submit that request timely fashion to the guidance department. It does take about a week for us to get everything ready and submitted. And colleges, this is the tricky part, even though we've sent them, colleges will process them anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. And in the middle of the college application season, especially towards the end in like December, it does take sometimes up to 6 weeks to process. And that's when they consider it received, and they'll notify you once they've processed it. But until then, when it's in the processing phase, it will sound and seem like they don't have your transcript, even though we may have already sent it. So make sure you get those transcripts sent as soon as you decide which schools to apply to. You don't need to wait until your application is done. You can submit a request for transcripts before your application is submitted, and the colleges will take that into account. They'll create a folder for you, and they'll wait for your application to come in. Financial aid is, majority of the process is done on your own. The students are responsible for this part. Parents are responsible for this part. Guidance can help direct you and help announce certain scholarships, but we don't do that part for you. So what needs to occur is you need to fill out the free application for student aid, which is fafsa.ed.gov. There's a website you go on to starting October 1st. It used to be not until you filed your taxes or not until January 1st, but now they've started to fill out FAFSAs and allow FAFSAs to be submitted on the previous year's taxes in October 1st. So keep that in mind. Filling out the FAFSA is really important. That's also a website where you'll go on and you'll let them know which colleges you're applying to so they can submit the information to the colleges. FAFSA is it's a federal website that calculates the amount that a family should pay for college or should be able to pay for college. Then they submit that number to the colleges, and the financial aid offices at the colleges will then make the final decision on what you owe. In the meantime, I usually suggest waiting till you've finished your applications, but if you have time over the summer, this is a great time to start. Usually new scholarships for the following year don't come out until we're well into the college process. Our students, we usually recommend them wait until they've filled out their applications. We start to see a majority of scholarships come out in November, December, January, and February. Sometimes new ones come out in March as well. Here are a couple websites on the screen here, scholarships.com, fastweb.com. But really, Naviance is a great one. It's also, again, a place for you to save those scholarships, fill out the applications through Naviance, and the Tri-County Guidance Counselors will add ones that are from the community into Naviance, and you'll get messages that they're there, and you can fill them out. College Board also has a scholarship option to search, and let's see here. Tri-County scholarships are for students of Tri-County specifically. Sorry, I'm going to pause this for 1 second. That was my echo timer going on. So Tri-County scholarships are for Tri-County students specifically. If you've ever attended our graduation, you've heard the long list, tens of thousands of dollars of scholarships that are given specifically to Tri-County graduates. And it's sometimes specific to what town you live in, what shop you've gone through, what major you're going to choose in college. So it's definitely an amazing opportunity, and we recommend every student fill out that application. And Ms. Fleury and Mr. Johannesson will go around to classes, make a lot of announcements in February for the application for that to come out. It's a very simple form. We ask for our resume to be attached to that as well, and we announce those at graduation. So this is the Tri-County website, obviously. Hopefully you're familiar with it now. But under the Students and Parents tab, there's another link to Student Services. At the bottom of that page, we have all the forms you need and a lot of college information located there. So at this time, one of the key elements of the application process is staying organized, keeping track of everything, narrowing down your college list. So some students start with 40 universities and colleges on their list. Some students start with about 15, that's okay as well. But ultimately, the average Tri-County student applies who's interested in a 4-year college or university, looks at about 12 colleges and universities to apply to. And obviously that ranges, but we definitely at least want you to apply to a school that is a likely and a target and a reach at the minimum. And we'll help you with those lists. So make sure, as I said, once you've narrowed down your list to a manageable amount, make sure you write down the application deadlines, the requirements. There may be extra requirements, extra essays, certain letters of recommendation, fees, admissions office address. So you'll want that admissions office address because that's what you need to put on your transcript request form. We have to know which office, which campus to send your transcript to. Very important. Don't forget, you want to finish early. You want to finish at least 1 month before the deadline. That way, you'll have time to process everything and get confirmation. Check College Board to make sure you sent your SAT scores, as we said before. Send your application, make sure it's completed and submitted. Most sites, it will give you a confirmation. It'll tell you that it's complete. Bring your completed transcript request form to Ms. Johannesson and Ms. Fleury in guidance, and we will make sure we send that out. Usually when we receive a transcript request form, we send it out either the same day or the next day, but still you should be prepared to get us those forms as early as possible. Double check everything. As I said, make sure you give the schools plenty of time to process your material. You can call an admissions office and check on the status, but we don't recommend you call them frequently. Maybe once would be good. And maybe once again if it's not ready at that time, and give them plenty of time to process. If you intend to play sports in college, Division I programs and II programs, you have to register through the NCAA Clearinghouse website. You'll want to make sure you do that. Ms. Martin, our athletic director, generally gives a speech about that to upperclassmen. And you'll want to check in with your guidance counselor, especially if you want to play Division I or II sport, because I have to submit your transcript to that company, that website, to make sure that you're eligible to play. They have very specific requirements. So again, don't stress too much. This process is supposed to be fun. We want you to have a good time going through this, looking really closely at what schools fit you the best. Don't procrastinate, stay organized, be aware of deadlines, see your school counselor, read all the directions, and check your messages frequently on It's Learning. I will take questions in a moment. And if you have a child who's currently on a 504 or an IEP, you can please stay on the chat and I will answer. I have a couple more slides to go over about student services in college, and we'll talk more about that as well. So at this time, I'm going to try to figure out how to allow people to unmute themselves, which may take a moment, and then I'll take some questions. In the meantime, what I'll ask you to do maybe is enter questions in the chat. And once we start getting questions in the chat, we can answer those. And I'm going to unmute my counselors here just in case they want to jump in. And let's see if I can get the chat room going. Oops. Okay. All right. So thank you everyone who came, and we appreciate you taking the time to get all this information. And I know it's a lot, but remember, we're going to go through this all over again in the fall. We'll have an assembly for students who are interested. We'll have lots of sessions that will be available